The moment news broke about Tommy Lee Jones' daughter, the world collectively paused. It was one of those headlines that seems unreal, almost cinematic, yet painfully real. People immediately felt the weight of loss that went far beyond Hollywood gossip. Here was a life that seemed full of promise, cut short in ways that left everyone questioning not only what happened, but why. The initial shock created an emotional vacuum that viewers and fans could almost feel, a mix of disbelief, sorrow, and the urgent need to know the truth. In those first hours, social media buzzed with speculation, condolences, and questions, revealing how deeply people are drawn to stories that combine fame with mystery. From the very beginning, there were subtle indications that all was not as it seemed. Friends and acquaintances described quiet moments that now, in retrospect, hinted at a deeper struggle. Some recalled her moments of solitude, her occasional withdrawal from social gatherings, and the small, almost imperceptible signs of emotional turmoil. While none of these details alone could explain the tragedy, collectively they painted a picture of complexity, of a life that was more nuanced than the headline suggested. This layering of emotional context is crucial. It transforms the story from a simple news report into a deeply human narrative that viewers can empathize with, drawing them into a mental and emotional journey. As investigators began to piece together the events, the public received only fragments of information, each detail carefully measured. Law enforcement officials, citing privacy and sensitivity, revealed selective updates. Certain pieces of evidence were confirmed, others withheld, and still more contradicted earlier statements. This ambiguity became the central tension of the story. For the audience, the suspense was not about action or drama in the cinematic sense. It was rooted in human curiosity and the psychological pull of uncertainty. Each subtle hint, each gap in information, created a mental open loop, compelling viewers to continue watching, to remain engaged, and to seek resolution through understanding. At the same time, the media coverage added another layer of complexity. Different outlets focused on different angles, some emphasizing the celebrity connection, others highlighting procedural aspects, and yet others speculating on personal dynamics. The interplay of these narratives created a multi-dimensional story, one that forced viewers to navigate not just facts, but perception, emotion, and bias. This is the essence of a high-retention narrative. It challenges the viewer's mind, invites them to form theories, and keeps them engaged because the resolution is not immediately apparent. Every paragraph, every segment, is designed to psychologically anchor the viewer, making them emotionally invested in what comes next. Amid the investigative updates, the human story remained central. Tommy Lee Jones, a celebrated actor known for his calm demeanor and commanding presence, faced the private agony of losing a child. His grief, publicly understated but profoundly felt, offered a window into the universal experience of loss. The narrative is powerful not because of celebrity, but because it reflects a deeply human truth: the pain of losing someone you love, the unanswered questions, and the desperate need for clarity. As viewers absorb these elements, they are drawn into a reflective state, emotionally aligned with the story, and motivated to continue watching to reach a sense of understanding and closure. As days turned into weeks, new reports began to emerge, each adding tension, intrigue, and emotional depth. From eyewitness accounts to minor inconsistencies in the timeline, the story grew increasingly layered. Viewers were presented with a puzzle, one that required them to mentally and emotionally engage. Each development, whether a subtle revelation or a significant update, was carefully incorporated to maintain psychological tension. This narrative strategy is key for YouTube content designed for high average view duration. The audience is held in a state of anticipation, compelled to watch each paragraph, each segment, until the story naturally progresses toward clarity. The public's fascination with the story was not mere morbid curiosity. It was a combination of empathy, the human desire for narrative closure, and the cognitive pull of mystery. Social media communities dissected every shared detail, debated timelines, and analyzed statements. These discussions further amplified engagement, creating a feedback loop that reinforced retention. For the content creator, this meant the story could be structured not just as a retelling, but as an emotionally immersive journey, where every paragraph contributes to curiosity, reflection, and eventual resolution. By the end of the first phase of reporting, viewers were already deeply invested. They understood that the story was not just about a tragic death, but about mystery, human emotion, and the interplay of public perception and private grief. The careful balancing of facts, psychological tension, and empathy set the stage for the next chapters of the story. The narrative was now poised to explore investigation details, conflicting accounts, and the subtle hints that kept the audience searching for answers. As the story unfolded further, investigators began revealing select details that both clarified and deepened the mystery. Each piece of information seemed carefully filtered, leaving gaps that viewers instinctively tried to fill. The public, emotionally invested, felt the tension as if piecing together a complex puzzle. The psychological pull here is subtle but powerful. When people are presented with incomplete narratives, their minds are compelled to connect the dots. Every delayed revelation, every withheld fact, strengthens engagement because the audience is emotionally and mentally invested in finding the truth. One critical aspect of this phase was the conflicting reports. Friends, acquaintances, and neighbors offered recollections that occasionally contradicted one another. Small differences in timelines, descriptions of last known activities, and even memories of fleeting interactions created a layered web of perspectives. This multiplicity of accounts mirrored real life. Memory is rarely perfect, and human perception is inherently subjective. For the viewer, these contradictions became points of suspense, maintaining curiosity while also eliciting empathy. Understanding that grief, shock, and human error influence these accounts allows the audience to emotionally connect rather than pass judgment. Media coverage added another layer of complexity. Headlines alternated between speculation and verified information, creating a landscape where discernment was required. While some outlets focused on the personal tragedy, others emphasized procedural developments, like the involvement of law enforcement, forensic timelines, and the meticulous examination of evidence. The juxtaposition of personal sorrow with methodical investigation created a narrative rhythm, alternating between emotion and intellect, which is psychologically compelling for viewers. This interplay ensures that audience attention remains high, as the mind alternates between empathetic engagement and analytical curiosity. Amid the swirl of reports, subtle human moments emerged that resonated deeply. Colleagues of Tommy Lee Jones' daughter recalled her kindness, her dedication, and moments of quiet reflection that hinted at her inner world. These anecdotes, though seemingly minor, carried immense emotional weight. They allowed the audience to visualize her as a real person, not merely a news subject. By humanizing the narrative, the story bridges the gap between celebrity intrigue and universal human experience, making it relatable to every viewer. The audience begins to care, to feel the weight of loss, and to engage more deeply with unfolding developments. Simultaneously, psychological insight became an implicit guide through the story. Experts in human behavior, grief, and perception offered commentary on how trauma can influence behavior and memory, both for the affected family and the broader circle of acquaintances. Viewers gained a layered understanding, not only of the factual timeline but also of the emotional, mental, and relational dynamics that shaped each account. This approach serves retention by offering multiple entry points for engagement, facts, emotion, and reflection, allowing viewers to process the narrative on several levels simultaneously. As investigators proceeded, attention turned to seemingly small but significant details: security camera footage, phone logs, and witness accounts. While individually each element might appear mundane, collectively they built an intricate mosaic. The audience was drawn into analyzing each clue, mentally reconstructing events, and anticipating revelations. This technique leverages an important retention principle. By creating open loops through minor but intriguing details, the viewer's brain remains engaged, constantly seeking resolution. Each paragraph is designed to sustain curiosity, with information carefully layered to tease but not yet fully satisfy. One of the most compelling aspects of this second phase was the emergence of new insights that reshaped prior assumptions. Certain inconsistencies in early reports were clarified, while previously unnoticed details came to light. These revelations were not dramatic in the cinematic sense, but were significant in shaping the psychological tension of the narrative. Viewers were compelled to reassess their understanding, a process that reinforces engagement. The subtle ebb and flow of revelation mirrors the natural process of human curiosity. As new information surfaces, it triggers reflection, reassessment, and emotional recalibration. Throughout this phase, the audience also observed Tommy Lee Jones' measured public responses. Known for his calm and introspective demeanor, His limited statements and understated gestures spoke volumes. This balance between public restraint and private grief amplified the human dimension of the story. For viewers, this was a moment of quiet emotional resonance, reinforcing the stakes and deepening empathy. Watching someone navigate grief with dignity adds layers to the narrative, making the unfolding mystery not only compelling but also profoundly human. The media landscape itself contributed to ongoing suspense. Social media platforms, fan communities, and discussion forums became arenas of debate, speculation, and emotional reflection. Each shared opinion, theory, or revelation amplified engagement, creating a dynamic ecosystem where audience curiosity fueled content dissemination. For the YouTube viewer, this means a narrative experience that extends beyond the video itself. It encourages mental participation, discussion, and repeated viewing, all of which are critical factors for high retention. By the end of this second phase, viewers were deeply immersed in a multi-dimensional story that combined human emotion, procedural investigation, and unresolved mystery. The narrative strategy had worked. Curiosity was maintained, empathy was deepened, and psychological investment was secured. The audience was now primed for the next phase, where the latest revelations, analysis of conflicting accounts, and broader implications would be explored, culminating in emotional closure and reflective motivation. As the story moved into its final phase, the investigation began to reveal the most critical details yet. For the audience, these revelations were not presented in an abrupt, sensationalized way but were gradually layered to allow understanding and emotional resonance. The subtlety of delivery is crucial. Abrupt shocks often disengage viewers, while carefully timed insights maintain curiosity, comprehension, and emotional involvement. Viewers found themselves piecing together the puzzle with the investigative team, feeling the weight of discovery alongside the unfolding narrative. One significant development came from forensic analysis and timeline verification. Investigators meticulously cross-referenced digital footprints, communications, and minor inconsistencies in witness statements. While technical in nature, these details were conveyed in a human-centered way. Every fact had a story, every timestamp a ripple of human experience. By framing technical findings through emotional context, the narrative remained gripping, ensuring that viewers felt connected rather than overwhelmed. Psychological engagement peaks when complex information is translated into meaningful human consequences, which kept audience attention high. Meanwhile, personal reflections from friends and colleagues provided a profound counterbalance. Stories of moments shared, aspirations expressed, and the everyday life of Tommy Lee Jones' daughter painted a portrait of someone fully realized beyond the headlines. This humanization is a retention strategy in itself. When the audience cares deeply about the person behind the story, they are far more invested in every revelation, every nuance, and every development. It transforms a news event into a shared human experience, encouraging empathy, reflection, and continued viewing. The narrative also addressed public speculation and rumors, distinguishing verified facts from conjecture. Clarifying these misconceptions not only educated the audience but also created trust. In the landscape of sensational news, trust is a critical component of retention. When viewers feel confident that the content is accurate, yet emotionally compelling, they remain engaged throughout the video and are more likely to return for future content. The balance of fact, analysis, and emotional resonance is essential for both credibility and psychological engagement. A turning point in this final segment came when previously overlooked evidence was re-examined, offering clarity on aspects of the case that had been shrouded in uncertainty. By presenting these discoveries methodically, the narrative allowed viewers to experience revelation as the investigators did, slowly, thoughtfully, and with growing understanding. This approach respects the intelligence and emotional sensitivity of the audience, while also leveraging the psychological principle of rewarded curiosity. As viewers see gaps filled, their engagement is reinforced, and satisfaction grows alongside the story. Simultaneously, broader reflections emerged. Experts in grief, family dynamics, and human behavior offered insight into how families process tragedy, how trauma can manifest in subtle ways, and how communities respond to loss. These segments provided intellectual and emotional depth, allowing the audience to contextualize the events beyond the immediate headlines. By integrating expert reflections seamlessly into storytelling, the video achieves a multi-layered engagement. Viewers not only follow the events but also reflect on human resilience, perception, and emotional processing. Tommy Lee Jones' measured public demeanor remained a focal point. His understated expressions, minimal public commentary, and careful navigation of media attention underscored the profound nature of private grief in a public life. Observing this, viewers could sense both the weight of loss and the quiet strength it demanded. Psychologically, this reinforced connection and empathy. The audience felt alongside him without needing dramatized exaggeration. This careful calibration between public and private spheres is a storytelling technique that enhances emotional retention and audience loyalty. As the story approached its conclusion, subtle yet powerful narrative techniques were employed. Open loops introduced earlier were resolved, minor ambiguities clarified, and emotional arcs brought to closure. The narrative rhythm shifted from suspense to reflection, allowing viewers to process the journey they had undertaken. This transition is critical. After prolonged engagement with tension, a gentle but meaningful resolution leaves viewers feeling both satisfied and thoughtful, increasing the likelihood of sharing and recommending the content. The final moments highlighted lessons in empathy, awareness, and the fragility of life. Rather than focusing solely on tragedy, the video emphasized human connection, the importance of supporting those in crisis, and the subtle heroism in resilience. These concluding insights serve multiple retention and engagement goals. They provide emotional closure, encourage reflection, and leave the audience with a sense of purpose. In essence, viewers leave not only informed but also emotionally enriched. By the very end, the narrative achieved its highest goal, balancing fact-based reporting with deep human insight, sustaining curiosity while providing resolution, and creating a psychologically compelling journey. The audience, having followed the investigation, personal reflections, expert insights, and narrative revelations, experiences a profound sense of completion. They understand not just what happened, but why it matters on a human, emotional, and social level. This ensures long-term engagement, fosters trust in the content, and solidifies the channel's reputation as a source of both reliable information and emotionally intelligent storytelling. Finally, the video closes with a gentle, reflective motivational message. Life is fragile, mysteries can be complex, and understanding comes from patience, empathy, and thoughtful observation. By ending with subtle encouragement rather than overt dramatization, the content ensures that viewers leave in a reflective state, emotionally connected and satisfied, increasing the likelihood of both repeat views and sustained channel loyalty.